Hey, what's cooking, Jersey Shore? Oh, wait a minute. I'm in the secret kitchen. We're crossing over because Chef Umberto is joining me today. And look at this. We're taking dehydrated mushrooms and we're turning them into basically mushroom dust, which is like gold. And we're going to make mushroom risotto. You're not going to believe it. It's awesome. But stay tuned. You're going to see Chef Umberto do this right now. Hey, welcome to another episode of Secret Kitchens of New Jersey. So we have a special treat today because Chef Umberto is here. And if you saw Kitchen Conversations with me and Chef Umberto, you know that he talked about mushroom risotto. And of course, we insisted that he make it for us on Secret Kitchens. And that's what he's going to do today. So if you haven't seen that episode, I'll put the link in the description. And of course, the recipe will also be in the description. So without further ado, I'm going off camera. And I'm going to let Chef Umberto have the run of the secret kitchen.
Well, this is becoming a habit, huh? You're always running off.
I'm running off. Okay, here we go. Enjoy.
Hi, everyone. Like Andrea said, we're going to do a mushroom risotto, but it's not going to be your typical mushroom risotto. What got Andrea's attention was that I take dry heirloom mushrooms, which are here in this jar. It's a combination of porcini, dried shiitake, chanterelles, oyster, and I put them through this grinder that's been in my family for years. My dad used to grind coffee with that, and I make them into a powder. So what I do is I infuse the flavor of the mushrooms into the risotto with a little bit of Parmigiano Reggiano, which we're also going to use American Grana Padano today. It's a little bit less expensive, along with pecorino, and we create a nice risotto without the chunks of mushrooms. And then we have our dried mushrooms that we're rehydrating, a couple of them that at the end we're going to use with the shaved Parmigiano and the mushrooms as a garnish. And we're going to begin our recipe. Now, before we go to the recipe, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the 2 boxes of rice I have here. The more frequently used and easier to purchase is the arborio rice. I like to use the Carnanoli rice, which it's a little bit of a difference. They call this almost like the caviar of risotto. The arborio is a little bit wider and longer, and it's not quite as starchy as the Carnanoli rice. I like to use that. It's a little bit harder to get, but today we're going to do it with the traditional arborio rice, but it's just food for thought if you can find it. Basically works the same way. It just gives you a little bit more richness to your dish. So we're going to begin first. We're going to use 1.5 cups of the arborio rice. To begin, we got that put aside. We got all our measuring done. I'm going to tell you some ingredients that are going to be used in here. Kosher salt, black pepper. We've got a little bit of cream. We're only going to use 4 tablespoons of that. We're going to use 4 ounces of butter. We have the grana. We have the pecorino. And when I'm making something that's really a vegetable-based thing, I like to use the better than bouillon, especially the vegetable one. It gives you a lot more robust taste into your risotto. So we did 1/4 of that we prepared, and that's going to be part of our cooking ingredients. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take some of our dry mushrooms, and Jim, is this good on camera here to see the grinder? We are going to open up the grinder. We're going to take a little handful, and if you don't have one of these, a small food processor will work, but it's always nice to have a coffee grinder. This is like my prized possession. It belonged to my dad, and I will kill. Nobody's allowed to touch this but me. All right, so we got that all loaded up. We're going to close this up. I'm going to take this off camera. This is our dried assorted mushrooms. And those mushrooms can be purchased at any ShopRite and stuff. They have them. And that has almost come to a full powder. As you can see, the dust coming up from it. That is pulverized. If you look in there, our mushrooms are into a nice powder. I'm going to pull the plug on this. We're good to go with that. Okay, so now our next step is going to be try to use a very good extra virgin olive oil. I use this Antonina. I don't know if the supermarkets carry it, but the better the olive oil, the better your risotto is going to come out. So I'm going to put, as far as the olive oil, it probably comes out to about a quarter cup. I eyeball everything. I'm giving you measurements, and they will be on the bottom of on the comments of the episode. So we have the oil, and now the next step, what we're going to do is I like to use a Vidalia onion. If you don't have Vidalia onions, if you have shallots, regular onion is fine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little piece right off here, and I'm going to do something a little bit different. With my risotto, I'm a little bit of a texture person, so I don't like chunks of anything a lot of time, unless I'm eating my tomato sauce and stuff, that's different. But with this, I'm going to peel the outer part of our onion. I almost get rid of like the first layer. Okay, it's nice and peeled. Then, it's my mother's grattagasa. It's a grater in Italian. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to go with a little bit of a finer grate. And I'm going to grate about a quarter cup of onion. And the reason why I'm doing this, see the way it looks, is this onion, when it goes into our olive oil, it's going to caramelize and it's almost going to disintegrate. Okay, so we got our oil heated. We're going to add our pureed onion. And a lot of people are coming in, like I explained, when I'm doing a risotto, I found you can do chunks if you want. There's nothing wrong with that fine dice. But I like to get it very, very finely pureed. So this way it almost liquefies with everything. And it just gives a lot more evenly balanced flavor to your risotto. So now we're going to let this sizzle a little bit. Look at some of these spoons that are needed. Because traditionally, risotto is made with a wooden spoon. You know, a lot of people out there that maybe are cooks and saying, what is this guy doing with this rubber spatula? Actually, it's silicone. But spoons brings back to the younger days. My mother had something like this when I was younger. She'd get boomerang action when she had to hit me. She's broken many spoons on me when I was younger. Can't do that these days. But this almost looks like one of those Indian things that, you know, when you're playing, what was that game that they play and they use the big bat? Anyway, so you see we're starting to really sizzle here. We're gonna start stirring around, and if you were here, you'd start smelling that essence of the onion and a good extra virgin that's starting to incorporate. So, a couple more seconds. Now the next step is going to be the risotto. Remember, a cup and a half of risotto we put in. That's going to go into the pot. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the risotto and we're going to incorporate it. And we want to get a little tiny bit of toast on the risotto. See, now this is all starting to meld together. And, you know, screw Italian tradition. I'm going to go with what I'm comfortable with, and I like the new way of doing it with the Teflon, rubber, silicone spatulas. You just grab everything. Now, this is all in here. It's starting to toast. You see it? The next step is going to be our mushroom powder that we created. Just going to give it another second. All right. Now we're going to take this powder, which we pretty much took what was once solid mushrooms and we pretty much pulverized them. I'm going to take about 3 pinches, and the mushroom itself, because in the risotto recipe you're not going to have this. This is a secret you're getting from me. It's basically going to be 3 nice pinches. of the essence of the mushroom. And a little bit for good luck. So now, guys on the set, you can actually smell it, right? Oh, yeah. Now you're starting to smell the mushrooms in with it. So now what's happening is it's starting to, you don't want to burn it, but it's starting to stick to the pan a little bit. That's where our next fun part's going to come. Now we'll get everything to the bottom of the pan. Now it's time to deglaze our risotto. So I have, you can use a good Chardonnay. I like using Pinot Grigio when I'm making my risotto. Just adds to that little bit more of that Italian richness. And now you hear it. And what we do is with the wine, I use about 3 squirts off of that. That's basically about a 1/4 cup of wine that goes in. Now we just deglazed it. The aroma, now you're getting the fruitiness of the wine. And it just cleaned up my pan. And I'm going to show you what it looks like now before we start adding our liquid. Our risotto now has started to take on a life of its own. We've got that nice sweet scent and nice clarified scent of the Vidalia onions. You can still smell that little bit of extra virgin olive oil. You got that essence of mushroom in there and that nice fruitiness from our white wine. Now the next step, we're going to lower our heat and lower it to a medium. And then we've got that better than bouillon that we're talking about. And this is where the painstaking process of making a risotto comes in. You have to stay on top of risotto. It's not like your regular rice. You add the liquid to the risotto after you do this like saute process. Basically going to cover the risotto with the vegetable broth. You notice how now it quieted it down. And then you're constantly stirring. So what happens with that is every time it dries up the liquid, you're going to add more stock to it. It's going to get covered. When it dries the liquid, we'll add more stock. See, now it's going to go through its cooking process. Then we'll add some more stock and we'll go through that. It's a slow process. So we're going to come back to you in a little bit as we're finishing up our risotto. Okay, so now we let the liquid come down a little bit. As you see, our risotto is starting to take shape and it started to stick a little bit on the bottom. So now we're gonna actually add more liquid, and that's gonna clean up everything underneath. Okay, we're gonna cover it up with more liquid. Before we're done, that full quart is gonna go into this risotto. See, now as I did that, I'm gonna show you the pan. And you have to stay on top of risotto. If you let it sit, this is something that if you got something to do, don't make risotto. It's not like white rice where, you know, you add your water, you add your rice, and just let it go. This, I'm going to do another shot for Jim. Can you get can you get it with the camera? See how we're cleaning it all up? That's all going to be picked up. Now we're going to go to a really low heat, and we're going to let it finish cooking. So we're getting closer. Like I said, we're going to use all that liquid, but see how now we're slow cooking? If you look at the bottom of the pot, there's nothing stuck to it. That's because I stayed on top of it, and now our risotto is starting to get thicker and longer, and see the way it's starting to pick up a creamy texture? When this is done, and we haven't even added any cream or any cheese to it, this is the rice's own starchiness that's starting to give us that texture, and it's like so easy and to work with. So what's going to happen is we're going to add a little bit more liquid. Like I said, before we're done, this will all be in there. And I do it slowly because you don't want to add too much liquid too quickly. You want to let the rice do its work. Cover it up and slow. Like I said, this is not a quick process. You have to stay on top of it, keep stirring it, and then the finishing touches is what creates it. But in the meantime, coming back to this spoon, we're sitting talking off camera with Jim, and this looks like a mini, what was it, cricket bat. So cricket is a sport, like Jim was telling me, that not too many people understand the rules, but they call it a gentleman's sport. I'm set up for a little cricket. We'll be right back. Okay, so we're about 25 minutes into our cooking process here. And Jim asked a very good question, so we came back on camera so we can answer it. See our risotto right now? It's starting to, develop its identity. It's getting creamier. But he asked me what's the difference between creamy and wet. See right here, the way the risotto is here, it's still loose. It's getting creamier, but it's not quite done yet. So like I said, we're about 25 minutes into this process. Now I let the crew, Anita, everyone taste just the essence of the risotto. From the risotto itself, the creaminess and starchiness of the risotto, the Vidalia onion, that sweetness from that, the fruitiness of the Pinot Grigio wine, the extra virgin olive oil, that little bit of burn you get in the back of your palate. No spices, no cheese, no anything added. And they loved what it tasted like right from here. Jim's giving me a thumbs up from the other end. So we got about another 5 to 10 minutes left on our final cooking. We're going to come back to you and we're going to finish this dish off, and then we're going to plate it out, and then the best part, we're going to eat. Okay, welcome back. We're going to pull the top off, and let's see what we got. Look, it's alive. The risotto has taken on its identity. It's at a creaminess texture now where I can add the finishing touches to it. All right, so what we're going to do first, I'm going to add 1, 2, 3 pinches of salt. I'm going to add 1, 2 pinches of black pepper. I'm going to incorporate it one more time. And like we've been talking off camera, this is something that we're into it about 35 minutes right now. It takes a while, and it's something that's got to be treated with love. It's something I always say when I feed people, it comes from my heart to my hands to the customer. This right here is definitely the epitome of that. Okay, so now let's take another look at it, Jim. See, with just a little bit of salt that we added to it, it keeps getting creamier and creamier. So now we're going to start finishing it off. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to open up our cream and then our butter. And for this 4 servings, you should use about 4 ounces of butter. That's about 1. That's about 4. I'll give it another one for good luck. Now we're going to take our cream. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4 tablespoons of cream. Then we're going to add, you notice I have the Grana Padano here. This is Pecorino Romano. Locatelli is the best one you can get. I'm going to put a little bit of cheese in there. I would say probably about a 1/4 cup of cheese. Now we're going to mix one more time. The next thing you're going to see is us plating it and finishing it up with the garnish. But I'm going to show you before we come off camera what the risotto looks like now after we added the butter and our cream. Okay, take a look in that pot now. We still got a little bit more butter to melt, but you see how creamy it is now? There's nothing stuck to the bottom because like I told you, if you're in a hurry, don't make risotto. If you got time to give it the love it needs, it's going to love you right back when you eat it. All right, so we're going to come off camera. The next step, we're going to be plating it up and garnishing our risotto con funghi polverizzato. That's pulverized mushroom risotto. Okay, we're back. Our risotto is finally finished. We're going to start to plate it. The one thing I want you to see the finished product? The way it's creamy? Now we're going to take our risotto and look at the way it just starts coming down into our platter. And this, like I said, is a serving for 4 people. And you'll notice as we went through the stages of cooking this, and we added our cream, our pecorino, our butter, the risotto actually got a little bit lighter. Now all that's left, we're going to just do that a little bit, and that's how creamy it gets. Now we're going to take our rehydrated mushrooms. I let them soak, so we got a couple. This is our garnish. And the final, this is where the different cheese comes on, and this will add, this is our Grana Padano. We're going to just go like that and spread a little love. Voila! This is the final finished product, risotto con funghi polverizzato, pulverized risotto mushroom. Next step, we're going to taste.
At last, the risotto is done. Definitely takes a while.
Yes, it does.
I mean, because I never made risotto either, and I see this is not something that you start and you walk away from.
No.
So you got to really pay attention. But look at this masterpiece. So let's taste.
You got it.
Let's taste.
So now, like we were talking about creamy texture.
Look at that.
Look at that. It almost...
It's beautiful.
Here's one for you.
Beautiful. really get the smell of the mushrooms and like that umami. I mean, I can even just smell it. It's super creamy, and the cheese is just melting right into it.
Yeah, well, that's the the Grana Padano. I'm going to go in for the first bite.
It is creamy. Oh my God.
And it's something, like I said, it's a labor of love. But it's worth the wait.
It's delicious. There's so many flavors in here.
See, I told you in the beginning, that's why I let you guys taste it before we added everything. Good extra virgin. The white wine, your selection of white wine is very important. The proper onion that you use, it's either going to be a shallot or I would suggest a Vidalia onion. The sweeter the onion, the better. See the way I graded it? You taste it within everything, and then, like you said, you get the mushroom essence.
So there's no like chunks of anything in here. Everything is incorporated beautifully into the creaminess. I love that. Well done. Well done.
It's good.
Well, I'm sorry you can't be with us right now, but we're going to be eating risotto. I don't know about you guys. Hey, please like and subscribe. You keep us inspired. And we'll see you next time on Secret Kitchens of New Jersey. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.